Imagine you're sailing the Mediterranean on a sleek luxury yacht.
Sounds nice.
Right. And then you step off the boat, hop on a private jet to Aspen, sleep in this incredibly exclusive boutique guest house, and then dine in a world-class, sun-drenched atrium restaurant.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Now, what if I told you that every single part of that experience, I mean, the jet, the yacht, the hotel, the food, was entirely designed, owned, and operated by a company that you might remember for, like selling cabinet knobs and drawer pulls at your local shopping mall?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a completely fabricated scenario.
It really does.
But it is a very real, very aggressive business strategy playing out right now. We are literally witnessing one of the most drastic corporate metamorphoses in modern retail history.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're so thrilled you are joining us today.
Yes, thanks for being here.
We are pulling all of our insights directly from a really fascinating grounding source today. It's the official annual report, the Form 10-K, for the fiscal year ended January 31st, 2026, from a company called RH.
Right, formerly known to many as Restoration Hardware.
Exactly.
Though, as you'll quickly see, the word hardware is almost a comical understatement for what they do today.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So our mission for you today is to explore how this historical furniture seller is attempting an unprecedented transformation. I mean, they aren't just trying to, move more sofas or push a new line of rugs.
Far from it.
They are attempting to build a $20 to $25 billion global luxury lifestyle brand.
Billion with a B.
Yes, billion. We're talking about aggressively expanding into high-end hospitality, complex commercial real estate development, and even private travel.
It is a phenomenal case study for anyone listening who is interested in business strategy, commercial real estate dynamics, or honestly just the psychology of the ultra-wealthy consumer.
Oh, for sure.
Because what RH is attempting is incredibly ambitious, and it completely rewrites the traditional rules of how a brand interacts with its customers.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand where they're going, we have to look at what they are physically building right now.
Right.
And it starts with what they call the gallery transformation.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the sheer scale of their physical real estate pivot. That's where this story really begins. For decades, the standard retail playbook was to lease a, 7,000 or 8,000 square foot storefront in a high-end suburban mall.
Right, the classic model.
Exactly. You pack it with inventory, turn over the merchandise seasonally, and just hope for high foot traffic.
And RH is actively abandoning that model.
Completely abandoning it. They're closing those legacy stores and replacing them with massive multi-level design galleries.
And massive is definitely the right word here.
Oh, yeah.
The 10K outlines that these new spaces are anywhere from 30,000 to 50,000 square feet.
Which is huge.
It's essentially the footprint of a traditional department store, but dedicated entirely to one single brand's vision.
Right.
And here is the detail from the report that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. 25 of these new design galleries now include integrated RH hospitality.
Yes.
That means fully functioning high-end restaurants and wine bars built directly into the center of the furniture showrooms.
It's wild. You aren't just walking past a dining table display anymore.
Right.
You are actually dining at that table, or, one perfectly matching it, under their signature chandeliers.
Wow.
You're drinking a glass of wine in a space completely conceptualized by the brand's architects.
I have to push back on this strategy, though.
Sure.
Because running a restaurant is famously one of the most difficult, low-margin businesses in the world.
Oh, absolutely. It's brutal.
Right. The operational complexity of managing food supply chains, hiring chefs, dealing with health inspectors, I mean, it's a nightmare compared to selling a coffee table.
Yeah, it really is.
So why on earth would a highly profitable furniture company voluntarily take on the headaches of the hospitality industry?
Well, on paper, looking strictly at restaurant margins, your skepticism is completely justified.
Thank you.
But the hospitality element isn't really about becoming a restaurant empire.
Right.
It's a defensive moat against the internet.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, by integrating a restaurant and a wine bar, RH is creating a unique physical experience that simply cannot be replicated online.
That makes sense.
Right. In an era where e-commerce is relentlessly commoditizing consumer goods, a beautifully curated, sun-filled atrium restaurant
Yay.
is entirely immune to being, downloaded or bought cheaper on Amazon.
Yeah, you can browse rugs on your phone, but you can't digitally replicate the ambiance of a great dinner.
Exactly. And that ambiance has a direct, measurable impact on consumer psychology.
How so?
It drives what the retail industry calls dwell time.
Okay.
If a customer walks into a standard furniture store, they might stay for like 15 minutes, check a price tag, measure a sofa, and leave.
Right.
But if they're meeting friends for lunch in an RH restaurant, they're staying for 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
They are relaxing, their guard comes down, they are experiencing the comfort and the aesthetic of the furniture firsthand.
They're literally living in it.
Exactly. And the internal data suggests this prolonged positive exposure drives massive incremental sales of the home furnishings themselves.
It essentially lowers the psychological barrier to a high-ticket purchase.
Yep.
If you sit in that beautifully lit room long enough, sipping a Cabernet,
Yeah.
you start deeply believing that your own living room should look exactly like it.
It elevates the perceived value of the product.
Mm-hmm.
When you present a lounge chair in an architecturally inspiring space with world-class service, that chair is rendered exponentially more valuable in the mind of the consumer than if it were, just sitting in a crowded mall storefront.
Definitely.
In fact, RH actually views this gallery transformation, fueled by the hospitality element, as unlocking a $5 to $6 billion annual revenue opportunity in North America alone.
Which is just a brilliant mechanism for driving domestic sales.
It really is.
But if you can get someone to stay for a 3-hour dinner and buy a living room set,
Yeah.
I guess the next logical step in that psychological progression is getting them to stay the night.
Exactly where they're going.
Right. And as we read deeper into this 10K, it became clear that RH is taking this immersive lifestyle concept far beyond the four walls of their retail galleries.
Yeah, this is where the transition from a traditional retailer to a global tastemaker truly takes shape.
Mm-hmm.
They are building an entire ecosystem of habitable luxury.
And I want to list out some of these specific brand elevation assets from the report because the scope of it is genuinely staggering for a company rooted in home furnishings.
It's a long list.
It is. First, they have RH guest houses. There is one already open and operating in New York, and another currently under construction in Aspen.
Marking a highly calculated entry into the $200 billion North American hotel industry.
Yeah. Then they have a bespoke gallery located in a 400-year-old landmark estate in England.
Wow.
They just opened a massive new gallery on the Champs-Élysées in Paris in September 2025.
Incredible real estate.
And if you don't want to stay in their hotel or eat in their restaurant, they offer private travel. They have private jets available for charter, RH1 and RH2.
Right.
They operate a luxury yacht available for charter in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean, naturally called RH3.
Naturally.
And looking ahead to 2026, they are launching what they call RH Design compounds in Naples, Miami, and Walnut Creek.
And those compounds take the gallery concept to its absolute extreme.
Really?
Yeah, they're essentially multi-building brand ecosystems connected by meticulously landscaped gardens with an atrium restaurant anchoring the entire property.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. And frankly, a bit confusing for a traditional retail analyst looking at a balance sheet.
I can imagine.
Why is a home furnishings company buying million-dollar yachts and private planes?
Right.
I mean, how does chartering a yacht to a billionaire in the Mediterranean actually result in selling a sofa back in Chicago?
Well, if we look at this strictly through the lens of traditional direct return on investment retail, it seems absurd.
It sounds nuts.
But the genius here lies in the ecosystem they are building, what RH calls their ecosystem of products, places, services, and spaces. The yacht and the jets are not side hustles. They are essentially massive, self-funding advertising vehicles.
I want to make sure I grasp the mechanics of that.
Yeah.
How does a yacht function as an ad?
Think about traditional luxury marketing.
Okay.
You spend millions on glossy magazine spreads or celebrity endorsements to create an aspirational halo around your brand.
Right, standard stuff.
Well, RH is taking that marketing budget and investing it into physical assets that the ultra-wealthy actually pay to use.
Oh, wow.
By putting their brand, their aesthetic, and their physical products in the exact exclusive places where the affluent live, visit, and vacation, they build unparalleled brand authority.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, if a high net worth individual charters RH3 and has an incredible week sailing the Amalfi Coast, that person is completely immersed in the RH design philosophy.
It's like a billboard, but a billboard that the wealthiest people in the world actually pay a premium to live inside for a week.
Precisely.
And when they go back to their homes in London or New York, they already trust RH's taste level.
And this aspirational halo is the exact battering ram they need for their global expansion.
Right.
Because they are targeting a highly fragmented global luxury home market.
And the footprint they're projecting is aggressive. The 10K notes recent openings in Munich, Brussels, and Madrid. Paris was a massive milestone. Up next in 2026, they are targeting Milan and London, specifically the ultra-exclusive Mayfair district.
Of course.
And they're even looking at Sydney, Australia.
The underlying logic for this global push is that there simply isn't a direct competitor operating at the scale of RH anywhere in the world.
Really? Nobody.
I mean, there are thousands of boutique, high-end furniture designers in Europe,
Right.
but none of them offer the complete integration of product, architecture, and hospitality at this massive scale.
That makes sense.
RH believes that by disrupting this fragmented international market, they can double or triple their total addressable market and hit that $25 billion brand valuation.
But acting as a global real estate developer, funding European expansions into historic estates, and maintaining fleets of private jets, I mean, that requires immense liquid cash.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of it.
You can't fund a global real estate empire on good vibes and high-end aesthetics alone.
No, you definitely cannot.
Which brings us to a crucial part of this analysis. How is their core business actually performing to afford all of this?
Well, the hard financial numbers from fiscal year 2026 offer a very clear picture of the engine powering this entire luxury vehicle.
Let me lay out the baseline metrics for you.
Yeah.
In fiscal 2026, RH generated $3.44 billion in net revenues.
Solid.
That represents an 8.1% increase from 2025. They posted a gross profit of $1.52 billion.
Right.
But the single most surprising fact in this entire document was how they are actually generating those core sales.
Yeah, this is wild.
It's not through traditional retail foot traffic.
No, it is entirely driven by their membership model.
Yes, a staggering 97% of their core business sales are driven by the RH Members Program.
97%.
97%. The 10K states they currently have, about 262,000 members. These are customers who pay a flat annual fee to get a set discount every single day across the entire RH platform.
It is a brilliant psychological and financial mechanism.
I look at it as a high-end, luxury version of Costco.
That's a great comparison.
Right. You pay up front for the privilege of shopping. And the psychology of that sunk cost is fascinating. Once you've paid that annual fee, you feel compelled to use it. If you need a new dining room table, you aren't going to shop around at 4 different competitors because you already paid for your exclusive discount at RH.
Exactly. That intense customer loyalty is a huge benefit. But for a publicly traded company, the membership model solves a much bigger, more systemic problem.
What's that?
It smooths out their revenue stream.
Oh, okay.
In traditional retail, revenue is incredibly spiky. You are entirely at the mercy of seasonal promotions like Black Friday, Memorial Day sales, end-of-year clearance events.
Right, the typical retail calendar.
And this trains your customer to only buy when things are cheap, which destroys luxury brand equity.
Yeah, you never see a clearance rack at Louis Vuitton.
Exactly. The membership model eliminates the need for constant brand-diluting discounting to drive traffic.
So smart.
Customers shop exactly when they want to shop, knowing they're always getting the best value associated with their membership.
Right.
This evens out the order flow throughout the entire year, giving RH a highly predictable, stable, subscription-like revenue base.
So they have this incredibly loyal membership base funding the day-to-day operations.
Yes.
But there is another massive financial maneuver happening behind the scenes that explains how they can afford to build 50,000 square foot architectural marvel.
Oh, yeah, the real estate play.
It's a commercial real estate tactic they detail in the 10K.
They are fundamentally changing how a retailer interacts with real estate.
Okay.
Historically, retailers just lease buildings from commercial developers. You sign a 15-year lease, you pay your monthly rent, and the developer reaps the long-term equity of the property.
Right, that's how it normally works.
Well, RH realized that their brand was actually what made the property valuable.
Oh, interesting.
So they are increasingly acting as their own real estate developer or entering into strategic joint ventures like their hotel project in Aspen.
Let me make sure I understand the mechanics of this because it sounds risky. How does acting as a developer actually benefit them financially?
The strategy revolves around executing what is called a sale-leaseback transaction.
Okay.
Here is how it works mechanically. RH buys the land and builds a breathtaking 50,000 square foot gallery. Let's say it costs them $50 million to build. Because it is an architectural landmark And because it now has a highly profitable 20-year guaranteed lease from RH attached to it, the value of that property skyrockets.
Wow.
RH then turns around and sells that building to a real estate investment trust for, say, $80 million.
So they pocket a massive premium on the sale, freeing up tens of millions in liquid cash.
Yeah.
And then they just stay in the building and pay rent to the new owner as a tenant.
That is the arbitrage. They capture the development value created by their own brand.
That's crazy.
This strategy is specifically designed to lower their total capital investment over time. Instead of tying up billions of dollars in owning brick-and-mortar equity, they free up that cash to go buy more jets, fund more international expansions, or just invest in inventory.
It's financially brilliant, but it also sounds like a high-wire act.
Oh, for sure.
They are operating as a luxury furniture designer, a global restaurant operator, a yacht chartering service, a hotelier, and a commercial real estate developer simultaneously.
It's a lot.
Just running one of those businesses flawlessly is difficult.
This raises an important question, and it is perhaps the central tension of the entire 10K report.
Okay.
The sheer level of operational complexity RH has embraced introduces massive systemic vulnerabilities.
I would imagine.
They are operating far outside of traditional retail core competencies, juggling multiple capital-intensive industries at once.
Which brings us to the risk factors.
Yeah.
Every 10K has them. But for a company managing this many complex moving parts, the vulnerabilities detailed here are particularly fascinating.
They really are.
Let's start with the physical products that fill these massive galleries. Their supply chain dependency is a major exposure point.
Yeah, despite all the European real estate expansion and American development, the reality of their product sourcing is highly concentrated. The report states that 69% of RH's products are sourced from Asia.
Wow.
Specifically, 39% from Vietnam and 13% from China.
So their entire ecosystem, I mean, the curated restaurants, the guest houses, the galleries, it relies absolutely on these physical products arriving on time and at expected costs.
Yes.
If the furniture doesn't show up, the whole illusion collapses.
Exactly. That heavy reliance on Asian manufacturing exposes them directly to the volatility of global trade dynamics and geopolitical friction.
And the 10K goes into serious detail about how regulatory uncertainty is an active threat to their balance sheet.
It does.
The source material highlights the intense volatility surrounding U.S. tariff actions.
Right.
For instance, the report specifically notes a major development in February 2026, where the U.S. Supreme Court struck down certain tariffs that had been imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA.
Now, in isolation, an importer might view a Supreme Court ruling striking down a tariff as a positive development for their costs.
You would think so.
But the 10K objectively notes that following that specific decision, the U.S. presidential administration immediately announced its intention to invoke other legal frameworks to collect tariffs.
Well, damn.
And subsequently announced new tariffs on imports from all countries.
So the ruling didn't actually resolve the issue at all.
No, not at all.
It just replaced one set of rules with a completely new kind of regulatory uncertainty.
Exactly. The report is very clear on this mechanism, this ongoing regulatory unpredictability regarding global trade, questions about how long these new tariffs will last, potential sudden rate changes, and the risk of retaliatory trade actions by other nations. Right.
It directly impacts RH's cost of goods and their supply chain predictability.
And let's connect that directly back to the business model we've been discussing.
Yeah.
If you are executing a master plan to build 50,000 square foot galleries around the world using the sale-leaseback method, your real estate costs are fixed.
Yep, the rent is due.
You sign the lease. You have to pay the rent. If a sudden geopolitical tariff spikes the cost of importing the sofas and tables that fill that gallery by 30%, your profit margins simply vanish.
They're gone.
You can't just move the restaurant to a cheaper building.
No, you're locked in.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it paints a very dramatic portrait.
It really does.
RH is truly a canary in the coal mine for the broader global luxury economy.
How so?
They're trying to build one of the most incredible, immersive physical ecosystems in the world, but they're doing so while navigating severe macroeconomic headwinds.
They face fluctuating raw material costs. They face historically high construction expenses right at the exact moment they decided to become heavy real estate developers.
And their success is deeply tied to the wealth effect.
Oh, absolutely.
If the stock market dips significantly, or if high interest rates cool down the luxury housing market, the ultra-wealthy feel less wealthy.
Right.
They might not cancel their yacht charter, but they might decide to delay buying a $20,000 living room set.
Yeah, it requires absolute flawless execution across a dozen different industries.
Which is tough.
If they experience construction delays on these new bespoke European galleries, which the 10K notes they have struggled with in the past, or if a supply chain bottleneck leaves those new galleries empty, the compounding costs of their ambition could become a serious liability.
For sure.
They are trying to scale luxury globally, which is inherently a contradiction.
That's a great point.
Luxury implies exclusivity and scarcity. Scaling implies ubiquity. Bridging that gap through physical hospitality is their strategy, but the operational tightrope is incredibly thin.
Okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. Let's recap what we've discovered in this deep dive.
Sounds good.
RH is attempting one of the most ambitious and complex brand transformations in retail history. They're evolving from a standard mall-based home furnishings catalog into a $20 to $25 billion global ecosystem of physical, habitable luxury.
Yeah, they are replacing standard stores with sprawling, monumental design galleries, complete with fine dining and wine bars to drive dwell time. They are aggressively expanding into Europe and Australia, acting as their own commercial real estate developers to free up capital, and launching a fleet of guest houses, private jets, and yachts to build an unparalleled aspirational halo.
All of this incredible physical expansion is funded by an intensely loyal membership base, that luxury Costco model that brilliantly smooths out their revenue and drives 97% of their core sales.
Right.
But as we just discussed, this grand, sweeping vision is constantly threatened by the very real, very complex mechanics of their heavy reliance on Asian supply chains, volatile global tariffs, and macroeconomic shifts in the luxury housing market.
It's a lot to balance.
It really is. So what does this all mean?
That's the big question.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We started this conversation by looking at RH's pivot away from a simple, linear retail transaction.
Yeah.
But let's take their strategy to its ultimate logical conclusion.
Okay.
If a brand successfully curates every single physical aspect of your luxury lifestyle, if you sleep in their custom-designed bed, in their branded guest house, before flying on their branded private jet, to eat in their beautifully curated restaurant,
Yeah.
at what point are you no longer just buying a product?
Wow.
At what point are you essentially subscribing to an entire identity? And if a single corporate entity becomes the total architect of your physical world, who is really designing your life,
Yeah.
you or the retailer?
That is a fascinating question.
It's definitely something to consider the next time you step into a store, or rather, a gallery. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.